From a quantum chemist in East Germany to the most powerful woman in the world, Angela Merkel's story is one of extraordinary resilience, sharp intellect, and political mastery. For 16 years, she stood at the helm of Germany, navigating crises that threatened to tear Europe apart. But how did this pastor's daughter, raised behind the Iron Curtain, rise to become a global icon? Let's explore the life of the woman they called Mutti, or Mother of the Nation. Angela Dorothea Kastner was born in Hamburg, West Germany, in 1954, but just weeks after her birth, her life took an unexpected turn. Her father, a Lutheran pastor, accepted a position in a small town in East Germany, moving his family across the ideological divide of the Cold War. Growing up in the German Democratic Republic, or GDR, shaped Merkel profoundly. It was a world of surveillance, limited freedom, and forced conformity. Like most children, she joined the state's youth organizations, the Young Pioneers, and later the Free German Youth. This period would later come under scrutiny, with some claiming she was more involved in the socialist propaganda machine than she let on. Merkel has always maintained her role was purely cultural, organizing things like theater tickets. What's certain is her refusal to cooperate with the Stasi, the notorious East German secret police, when they tried to recruit her as an informant. She was smart enough to know the danger and strong enough to say no. Instead of politics, she turned to science. She studied physics at Karl Marx University in Leipzig, where she met her first husband, Ulrich Merkel. They married in 1977, and though the marriage ended just 5 years later, she kept his name. She continued her academic career in East Berlin, earning a doctorate in quantum chemistry in 1986. For all intents and purposes, she was on a path to a quiet life as a research scientist. But then, history intervened. In 1989, the Berlin Wall fell. The collapse of the GDR opened up a world of possibilities. As the political landscape of Germany was redrawn, Merkel, then in her mid-30s, felt the pull of a new calling. She joined the burgeoning pro-democracy movement, getting a job as a spokesperson for the first democratically elected East German government. It was a whirlwind entry into a world she had only observed from the sidelines. When Germany was reunified in 1990, Merkel seized her chance. She joined the Christian Democratic Union, or CDU, the party of West German Chancellor Helmut Kohl. In the first all-German election, she won a seat in the Bundestag, the German parliament. Her sharp mind and East German background made her a unique asset. Chancellor Kohl, a towering figure in German politics, saw her potential and appointed her to his cabinet, first as Minister for Women and Youth. The West German political establishment was an old boys' club, and Merkel was an outsider in every sense, a woman from the East and a scientist. They nicknamed her Kohl's Girl, a label that was both a nod to her mentor and a subtly dismissive jab. But Merkel was no one's girl. She was a quick study, diligently learning the complex rules of power in the new Germany. She rose steadily, becoming Minister for the Environment in 1994, where she presided over the first climate conference in Berlin, an early sign of her interest in global issues. The late 1990s were a turbulent time for her party. After the CDU lost the 1998 election, a massive campaign finance scandal erupted, implicating her mentor, Helmut Kohl himself. It was a moment of crisis for the party and a defining moment for Merkel. While others hesitated, Merkel did the unthinkable. She wrote a public letter, published in a major newspaper, calling for the party to move on from its honorary chairman, Kohl. It was a bold, ruthless political maneuver. She effectively cut ties with the man who had made her career, positioning herself as the face of a new, cleaner CDU. The move shocked many, but it also cemented her reputation as a pragmatic and decisive leader. On April 10, 2000, she was elected leader of the CDU, the first woman ever to hold the post. Her path to the chancellorship wasn't easy. In 2002, she was forced to step aside and let a male rival from a sister party run as the candidate for chancellor, who then narrowly lost. But Merkel didn't retreat. She became the leader of the opposition, using the time to hone her skills, build alliances, and consolidate her power within the party. By 2005, her moment had arrived. She ran for chancellor against the incumbent, Gerhard Schroeder. The election was incredibly close, resulting in a hung parliament. After weeks of tense negotiations, Merkel forged a grand coalition with her main rivals, the Social Democrats. On November 22, 2005, Angela Merkel was sworn in as Germany's first female chancellor. Her leadership style quickly became her trademark: calm, analytical, and understated. She approached political problems like a scientist, breaking them down, analyzing the data, and seeking pragmatic, step-by-step solutions. She wasn't known for soaring speeches or grand visions. Instead, she became known for her stamina in grueling, all-night negotiations and her ability to find consensus where others saw only conflict. Her chancellorship was defined by a relentless series of crises. First came the 2008 global financial crisis, which morphed into the Eurozone sovereign debt crisis. Countries like Greece teetered on the brink of bankruptcy, threatening the entire European project. Merkel became the face of austerity, demanding strict budget cuts and financial discipline in exchange for bailout funds. This made her deeply unpopular in Southern Europe, where she was often caricatured in protests, but many in Germany and Northern Europe credited her firm hand with saving the euro. Then, in 2014, came the Ukraine crisis. After Russia annexed Crimea and fueled a conflict in eastern Ukraine, Merkel stepped into the role of chief diplomat. Leveraging her fluency in Russian and her understanding of the post-Soviet mindset, she led the European Union's response, spearheading sanctions and engaging in countless hours of shuttle diplomacy with world leaders, including Vladimir Putin, in an attempt to de-escalate the conflict. But perhaps her most defining and controversial moment came in 2015, as hundreds of thousands of refugees, many fleeing the war in Syria, made their way to Europe. The continent was thrown into chaos. Borders were closing, and a humanitarian disaster was unfolding. In a moment that would echo through history, Merkel made a fateful decision. She declared, "We're schaffen das," which means we can do this, and kept Germany's borders open. Over the next year, Germany took in over 1 million asylum seekers. The decision was praised by many around the world as a courageous act of humanity, but it was deeply divisive at home. It fueled the rise of the far right, strained public services, and put immense pressure on her government. Yet, Merkel stood by her decision, arguing it was a moral and humanitarian imperative. It was a rare moment where the pragmatic scientist was guided by a powerful sense of conviction. This crisis tested her leadership like no other, and while it weakened her politically, it also cemented her status as a global moral leader for many. After 4 terms and 16 years in power, Angela Merkel chose not to run for re-election in 2021. She left office as she had governed, without fanfare, quietly stepping back from the stage. She was the second longest-serving chancellor in German history, a leader who provided a steady hand through a decade and a half of global turmoil. Her legacy is complex. She is seen as the de facto leader of Europe, a champion of liberal democracy, and a master of crisis management. Critics point to the consequences of her austerity policies, her controversial refugee decision, and a foreign policy towards Russia that some now see as naive. But few can deny her impact. In a world of loud, populist strongmen, her quiet, evidence-based leadership was a stark contrast. She proved that a woman from East Germany, a scientist in a world of lawyers, could not only lead but dominate the political stage for nearly 2 decades. Angela Merkel's journey from a pastor's daughter behind the Iron Curtain to the Chancellery is a testament to her unique blend of intellect, pragmatism, and sheer political will. Her story remains one of the most remarkable political tales of the 21st century. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the lives of history's most influential figures. See you next time.